Hi, and welcome to today's show, where I'll be sharing some insights in terms of helping you as baby boomers who are looking to reinvent yourself by pulling on or integrating some of the core themes that arise from the Easter story, namely hope, renewal, and redemption. Before I dive into any of that from a secular point of view, if you're one of my regulars, welcome back. Great to see you here. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Bybreen and I help baby boomers reinvent themselves psychologically, practically, and technically so they can thrive in their third act of life. So here we are, we're a week away from Easter Sunday on April the 9th, but we're already into the Easter holiday season. And as we know, Christ died on the cross and then he was resurrected 3 days later. And the actual Easter story is a reflection of life over death. And as a result of that, these themes that have emerged with regards to hope, renewal, and redemption. So all of us, we've had our challenges in our life. We've had the highs, we've had the lows as well. So with regards to my own story around how did I get into the journey of my own redemption, my own renewal, and this sense of hope? Well, I have to take you back, about 25 years, where my life was literally imploding. It was burning. Everything was falling down around me. One of the key things that was happening was I had just come out of the back end of a very high profile legal campaign. That was very exhausting, and that was the cost of dreams, that had built up for decades, and that was now not going to be a reality. I was in a job that I absolutely hated. There were family dynamics and dysfunctionality. You kind of get the picture. There was a lot going on, and I was imploding. It was like my world was burning. And there was, even though all of this was happening, I knew there had to be another way forward, but I didn't know what would actually help me traverse all of that. And I remember going to my mum's one day and we were sitting there in conversation because obviously I'm her daughter and she could see how my life was burning. And I just said quite emphatically, Mum, I just can't live like this anymore. And all she said was, thank God you realized. And this combination of me recognizing clearly, because my world was burning down around me, but this nudge, this pull, this sense of something has to be better, kick-started me on my journey of hope, renewal, and redemption. And the tool that came to me in terms of what helped me unlock the door to my own personal wonderment and magic and my own inner life happened to be transformational astrology. For you, it may be something completely different, but it was quite a profound experience. And as I said, that kick-started my journey of personal transformation in the late 90s. So we're going back at least 25 years. Now, there was a quote that I came across that was really quite illuminating, and it was from this nun, Saint Teresa of Avila. And the quote is, "We rise by kneeling, we conquer by surrendering, and we gain by giving up." And when I first encountered that, more than 2 decades, I thought there's so much profundity in this. I clearly needed to kneel. I clearly needed to surrender. And what was it that I needed to give up? And so I kind of throw those questions over to you. Where are you resisting, kneeling? What is it that you don't want to move beyond? What is it? Which part of yourself needs conquering? And then think about if you gave it all up, meaning this ego. Now, we all have an ego. The positive side of the ego can propel our lives forward. The shadow side of our ego can really keep us trapped in patterns and behaviors that really are doing us a disservice. So the questions are reflected back to you. Where is it that you're resisting this sense of surrender? So beyond my world of astrology, I was a Buddhist for 12 years. So this sense of transformation continues, even though I don't practice Buddhism anymore. But for you, what could kickstart that journey? I'm going to show you this fantastic book. I call it one of my annuals. Every year I dive back into this book. And it's written by Michael A. Singer. And as you can see, it's called The Surrender Experiment. It's a beautiful memoir of a man who, we're all caught up in the busyness of life. He was an academic, a young academic at the time. And he started to feel these subtle shifts and pulls that was kind of pointing his life in another direction. And through the busyness of life, what we can do is just be present to the external world. And he kickstarted that situation, kind of kickstarted his inquiry into, I need to observe my own thoughts. So, this sense of renewal, his journey was understanding himself by observing his own thoughts, trying to master his own mind. So his journey led him into solitude and meditation. That may not be your journey. But the more that he traversed this land of, I need to take control of myself, my mind, my inner world, he then started to open up and allow the universe to guide him on his journey. And so, for one of the things for all of us, we may have these very fixed plans and ideas as to who we think we are, who we think we should be. But this sense of surrendering, what is it? Which part of my personality, your personality, do you need to start exploring and unknitting in order to get to the true essence of who you are? So Michael took this journey, and along the way, some magnificent things happened in his life because he was no longer attached to this old identity that was keeping him trapped in the way that life should be. And along that journey, he then built a very successful $1 billion valued company as a software company. He didn't know anything about business, he didn't know anything about tech or software. So his transformation happened in that particular way. Yours might be something quite minute or anywhere in between. It doesn't really matter because the transformation could be kick-started, whether it's like your life is burning and falling to pieces, through to it's these subtle shifts and changes that one needs to pay attention to. So for me, one example is when there was another moment of shift as I'm becoming more present to. This was back in the 2000s. And the idea came to me that I need to learn a new language, or another language, I should say. Mandarin was the language. Didn't actively seek it out. That started to float through me, and I started learning Mandarin. Along that journey, a friend of mine showed me this brochure, and the brochure was for this opportunity to be one of 100 people that was selected from across the UK to undertake this leadership research, and you could go anywhere in the world, and it was for the Winston Churchill Fellowship. Now, when we surrender, that means we let go of any kind of ideas that we think we have. I was awarded the fellowship, but it wasn't something I had actually planned for. And yet it pivoted my world in a completely new direction. I was able to get international leadership experience. I could put my Mandarin, as badly as it was, into practice. And I had a phenomenal time that fed my life in so many different ways. So look out for these moments when you're lessening your grip in terms of who you think you are and allowing this kind of new breeze to blow into your life. But in order to do that, there is this, have you got the kind of quality of, or the characteristics of courage? So here we are, we're in the spring, new season. So we've closed out this sense of winter. We've been birthed into spring. It's also, April, which represents Aries. And associated with this new start to life requires courage, requires confidence. So is there something in your life that requires courage to break free of these old patterns and behaviors to allow you to experience something different? There's a beautiful song called The Celestial Blues, and it's by Andy Bay. And it's picking up on this sense of the closer we can move to the essence of who we are, is the easier our lives will be. And in the first verse, he talks about, or he sings about it. And he also highlights the fact that change is difficult, it requires courage and shifts in particular areas. So again, I reflect the question back to you. Which area of your life is calling you to become more courageous, to stand up and to be counted, to initiate? We're in spring. It's about, new ideas, new ways of being, new possibilities. So in order to engage with these new possibilities, there needs to be an element of kind of hope and wonderment. But one of the things that you might be experiencing is that there's a disconnect between the external face that you put out into the world, this external, personality and character, which is in conflict with what you truly feel. Now, this is going to interrupt your growth path, but the recognition of something is amiss here will help you exercise hope and belief that the road may be challenging, but instead of trying to push the boulder up the mountain, you're going to reverse that and start to flow downstream, recognizing there might be some challenges and some barriers that you might need to go over, you might need to go under, around, or through. But this sense of hope is what's keeping you alive. This sense of something can be different. I might be getting in my own way, but there's something new that awaits me on the other side of this. And so this sense of renewing yourself, recognizing there are old characteristics, old personalities, old personas that need to die in order for something new to be reborn. So think about that song, The Celestial Blues. How do you begin to get back into the essence of who you are so that you can bring about this sense of redemption? But redemption requires forgiveness. And as we journey through our lives, we've had a whole, a host of experiences, millions and trillions of memories and reflections. And one of the things that we can do is get stuck in our old patterns. In order for forgiveness to take place, where is it that you're holding on to a sense of bitterness, you're holding on to some grudges, and no doubt you will be able to recall these grudges that happened decades ago, that for whatever reason, there's no judgment here. We've all walked that path. Some of us continue to walk that path, no judgment. But it's about this recognition. How do you begin to elevate your life state that allows you to bring in and integrate the sense of hope and renewal and redemption? How do we begin to do this? If you're a people pleaser, one of the things that could actually get in the way is this sense that you are living externally as opposed to being driven internally. And the question is, what is that actually costing you? The more that you live in the world of people pleasing, doing everything else that everybody else wants to do, what is that actually costing you? Well, one of the things which is so central to who we are, that is actually a cost and to your detriment, is this sense, if you are always externalizing or seeking other people's validation, you want to be loved and included and liked and all of that part of the human, characteristics. But if you're always focused on pleasing other people, that goes against who you are, means that you are missing the opportunity to actually understand what your fundamental needs are from an emotional point of view, from a psychological point of view. What is it that your life is calling you towards? It's really powerful, because if you're always in this one-dimensional or one-directional mode, It means that you've taken your eye off the ball. You're unable to kind of think about, well, what is the cost? The cost is the more that you live in that external world means that you are trading this sense of your core identity. If you live in a singular world or a one directional world, what it's actually costing you is the beauty and the benefits of reciprocation, reciprocal relationships that help you to renew yourself. You help other people to renew themselves because it moves from being transactional, give me, or I'm just pouring out so that hopefully you will like me, love me, include me, care for me, instead of tapping into paying attention to those whispers that are always there. They might float away for a while, they never disappear. They always come back to the sense of, are you being the best, the brightest, the greatest that you could actually be? Or are you really trapped into these cycles that are causing you pain and destruction? So, what's this good life? This good life means that you are able to recognize the disconnect that exists between your internal world and your external world. But in order to traverse you've got to actually navigate the turmoil before you can get to renewal. You have to go through the eye of the needle of the situation. You can't pretend that the situation doesn't exist. There's a quote, I think, by Nietzsche, and he said, once man's mind is opened up to new kind of directions and new stimulus, it's very difficult to go back to what you once knew. So we can't pretend. Even if we're saying it to other people, deep down, we understand that the journey, this kind of redemptive journey back to ourselves, requires courage, requires compassion, and this allows us to tap into the redemptive element of this. How can you begin to forgive yourself for some of the choices you've made, the poor choices you've made? How do you begin to create that bridge that helps you navigate and move towards healthier relationships? Some of the ways is to think about, embracing change. Now, you might be somebody who's been quite rigid and stuck, in your little comfort zone. It's what you know, it's what you're familiar with, and you're not quite sure what to do. But if you want to reach into your dreams and live a far more expansive life, then it requires you to stand up in and stand up for who you are. So, this sense of having a growth mindset, opening your mind to different ideas, different challenges, taking on new things. One of the things that aids me in my own life when I think about my mental well being, I call it more mental fitness as opposed to mental health, is I actively choose to be present to what's going on in front of me, around me. So my mind is open. And I always exercise the right to change my mind if I so choose to. There isn't anything fixed, new stimuli or new data or just my sense of I've outgrown a particular situation or a scenario, then I do have the right to actually change my mind. Something else for you to think about is, where are your strengths? Where do they lie? And then on top of that, thinking, how could you leverage your strengths to use them in new and innovative ways that really does kind of open up and expand your life? It's really powerful. Just think about, what are some of those ideas that you've been kind of rubbing your hands about once you've given yourself the opportunity to reconnect to your dreams? This sense of, walking that path towards the soul of who you are. Now, I know for the last decade or two, I would say, we've had lots of information about purpose. Find your purpose. What is your purpose? If you don't have a purpose, what does that actually mean? It doesn't mean anything. And actually, what it can negatively do is think that there's an element of inadequacy within you, and it's far from that. Rather than what's my purpose, what brings you alive? Yeah, what fires you up? What is it that you desire? What turns you on? What helps you light the spark inside you? So last week I was working with this organization, and one of the questions I pose to the participants is, give me a couple of your dreams. What do you dream about? What really, brings the kind of light out in you? And on one level, it was really quite sad in terms of people, this we don't dream. I haven't got time for dreams. I can't remember the last time to dream. I don't know how to dream because we're living in this exceptionally busy life. We're in a technologically driven world. The world rushes at us through social media. We've got responsibilities across a whole host of areas of our lives. So instead of trying to find your purpose, I would say step into what fires you up. Can you tap back into that 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old girl or boy that that your eyes were like saucers when you encountered the stimuli in life? That's one of the ways that's going to help you really dig into and explore who you are. Another thing to think about is, yes, our networks and our friends and our families and our acquaintances and all of that. One of the things that I live by is this sense of understanding and being your own cheerleader first. Because if you don't know how to celebrate yourself, and you're always, again, this projection onto other people, hoping that they will celebrate you, it comes naturally. So I'm helping you navigate back into the more that you can celebrate your own life means that it kind of opens up for other people to celebrate with you, support you, uplift you, all of that. But the strength really can lie in you understanding, actually, I've got it going on. Actually, I've got chutzpah. Actually, I've got chops. And in the face of these difficulties, in the face of my transformation, I'm still going to rise up because I want to connect with the essence of who I am, which is your responsibility first and foremost. And then other people can step in to aid you. So it's embracing change. And then lastly, it's about lifelong learning. When was the last time that you intentionally took yourself on a journey to learn something completely new? And or when was the last time that you picked up that fabulous hobby from way back when that had been jettisoned because of, the idiosyncrasies of life? Now is the time to find the way as we're moving through this holiday season. Here's just one way to kind of pivot into it, where you can be deeply reflecting on, what do I need to let go of? What could I learn? How could I do this in incremental ways? And it could start with, 15 minutes at any point in your day that you're going to intentionally set about reinventing yourself. So there's this sense of hope, there's a sense of a new beginning, but you recognize that you need to traverse, different valleys and journeys. But you're committed to doing that because you've recognized that you're worth it. That's the hope, that's the belief. The renewal comes about when you roll up your sleeves and get in there and understand what does it take. Go and research some courses. Go and research some courses to take on this new journey that's going to expand your life. Who do you need to become? That's a really powerful question to ask yourself. Who do I need to become in order to live this really expansive life that's going to light me up and bring me joy in a way whereby I can wave goodbye to the shadows, because you recognize that that world or those ways of being are constraining you. So your life has shrunk, it's really small. And so you're looking at life like this as opposed to looking at life so expansively. And then The additional part to that is this sense of redemption. And this is about the transformation. Imagine yourself being the phoenix that rises so powerfully from the ashes, which means that you would have had to confront your shadow side, the shadow ego, the egocentric side of you, the narcissistic side of you, all the kind of negative connotations that undermine your personality and your character. You have buried that, but in order to bury it, you had to really purge through. I had a wonderful conversation with one of my friends, Sean, and we were having a political conversation. He's in America. And he said, when the day after Donald Trump was elected, and we all remember that season of American history, he said, you know what? A part of me died. And the next day, I literally put on a black suit, black shirt, black tie, and off he went out into the world of work. Because he said, I recognized that there was a part of my own being that needed to die in order to find ways to navigate so that he could begin to thrive in really healthy ways. So, this road to redemption really is about A, what do you need to transform? What do you need to forgive in your own life? Is there anything or anyone that you need to forgive, that you can let go of the hurt, let go of the trauma, and then arrive? You're rising from the ashes. This phoenix that's ready to take flight and to fly in the world will lead to this sense of redemption. You can be. So when we think about the Easter story through the secular eyes, which is what I've taken you through, wherever you are on your journey, there is always hope. There is always a belief. There's a recognition. The road might be a bit rocky. There's turmoil, but you know what? There's a brighter future. There's the recognition that you have to roll up your sleeves in order to renew yourself. You need to feed yourself in a particular way that allows you to live far more expansively. You need to kill off parts of your personality, your identity, so it burns. And then you are able to emerge from the ashes of life. And I want to leave you with this final quote, which is from Irene Casola. And she said, "The pen that writes your story must be held in your hand." That imagery alone just says it for me. The pen that writes your story must be held in your own hand. So that's what I wanted to share with you as you enter the kind of Easter holidays. It's time for reflection and renewal and hope and redemption and all of that. The horizon is bright. The horizon is expansive. Go out there and write your story with your pen in your hand and become the hero or heroine in your life. So I'd love to hear how this resonates with you. Put it in the comment box below. For those of you who are watching on the replay, hello. I'd love to hear your comments as well. I'd love to engage with you further. Please like and subscribe to my channel and this show. Please share my channel with any other baby boomer in your world, parents, grandparents, uncle, aunt, friends, colleagues, you name it, neighbors. Let them know that we rock up here every Sunday, 3:30. I will see you again on Easter Sunday, where I'll be sharing other vignettes that help you to thrive through your baby boomer years. So stay well, and I will see you again next week. Bye.